What's going on, fight fans? It's your host Sebastian, and welcome back to the Boxing Tip. Now, yesterday I released a video primarily focusing on Guillermo Rigondeaux and what I feel he brings to the table, and pretty much mega fight happening on Saturday. We're only 2 days out, man. I'm fucking beyond excited, man. I'm getting nervous. I'm already getting the nerve, biting the nails and everything. But you know, I'm gonna spend time on this video talking a little bit more about Vasyl Lomachenko. I know I was kind of back and forth between the two in the last video. I'm gonna probably end up being back and forth between the two in this video. But I'm gonna try not to rant as long. But before I jump into it, just want to say go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Gonna be covering fights like this, you know, throughout the week, you know, on a lot of the more bigger cards. Also, I'll try to keep you guys updated on the boxing news. Also, Battleborn Beast Apparel. Hit them up on Facebook at Battleborn Beast Apparel, battlebornbeastapparel.com. They got dope tees. Check them out. So, get into the video, or what the video is going to be about. Like I said, it's about Lomachenko primarily, even though I'm probably going to bring up Rigondeaux, you know, periodically throughout the video. So first thing I want to start off with Lomachenko. Obviously his activity, I feel like this is one of the huge things kind of playing in his favor, but at the same time can be his downfall at the same, you know, I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But his activity and why it would play in his favor against Rigondeaux. Now Rigondeaux, like I said, operates at his pace. Pace was a big topic in my last video. He operates at a fairly slower pace. You know, he can change the pace and explode with spurts of aggressiveness here and there, but for the most part, he fights at a slower pace. Now, Vasyl Lomachenko fights at probably double the pace Rigondeaux fights at. I feel that Lomachenko just needs to be himself when it comes to his work ethic inside the ring. How much punches he's throwing, you know, the throwaway punches, the non-committed punches, the combinations. I mean, obviously against someone like Rigondeaux, who's a master defender, combination opportunities may not present themselves as frequently, depending on what Rigondeaux's doing. Now, if he's a little bit more active, sure, that does open opportunities to throw some combinations, maybe, you know, kick off the combination with the counter punch, and Lomachenko's pretty good at keeping it going and finding the, you know, the next opening right after the counter punch. So, you know, he's done it in plenty of fights. With Rigondeaux, like I said, he's a bit at the slower pace, so I guess, you know, in favor of kind of winning the rounds and maybe even to be able to possibly overwhelm Rigondeaux, you know, his activities. Like I said, he's gonna have to continue doing what he's been doing, and obviously, like I say in pretty much all Lomachenko fights, you know, his opponent has to do something early on. That's usually what it comes down to, not ultimately, but a huge factor in how the fight's gonna play out. Like Orlando Salido with his dirty tactics and the weight and everything, a lot of things, you know, the pressure, I'm not going to say it was just the dirty tactics, but even just the pressure in itself was able to hold Lomachenko from getting started off for a good part of the fight, was able to hold Lomachenko off from becoming the active monster that he is. I feel like Rigondeaux, you know, and like as discussed in my last video, is going to have to do something very similar. He's going to have to do something to disrupt Lomachenko, to offset that activity, to keep him from get going, basically. Now Lomachenko, he might want to consider not too quickly, but starting a little bit more quickly than he has in the past. You know, I would say, you know, usually he takes about 2, 3, 4 rounds at the most to kind of get a good feel of his opponent, and then start to get to work, you know, and start taking advantage of all the information here, you know, exploit all the information that he has gained in the first few rounds, you know, with just feeling you out. I feel like Lomachenko, instead of 2, 3, 4 rounds, maybe 3 rounds maximum, but by the second round, you know, establish some sort of rhythm. Obviously, it's kind of asking for a lot against like a master defender like Guillermo Rigondeaux, so he might not be able to get going as quickly as he wanted to because of the type of way Rigondeaux fights. You know, he's very cautious, he's very alert, he's watching you, your every move. You know, you're not going to just pull a fast one on Rigondeaux. I mean, it's kind of It would be kind of foolish to think otherwise. At least that's in, my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people can agree to that. I would like to think that, at least. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Rigondeaux is not someone you could just pull a fast one on. Especially early in the fight. I don't care how good you are. Even if there was someone out there who was better than Lomachenko, if they were to fight Rigondeaux, I don't think they would be able to establish such a pace or get a quick start and take advantage of the fight right then and there. I think Rigondeaux is just too much of a defender to allow that to happen. So yeah, I would say if Lomachenko can establish an early rhythm, with a lot of activity to keep the cautious Rigondeaux, the very finicky Rigondeaux, the tedious Rigondeaux, the patient Rigondeaux, to try to overwhelm that Rigondeaux, to get Rigondeaux to start to move at a little bit quicker pace himself. Maybe that might be dangerous to get Rigondeaux up and going and start throwing a lot of punches, but it will somewhat take away from Rigondeaux's defense to get him to start opening up. Because when Rigondeaux starts to explode, he explodes. He's throwing that left hand. He's not using his right hand too much, but maybe he'll shove it onto the opponent's guard to keep their hands there so they're not trying to punch back, kind of like as a defensive tactic, but he's unloading that left hand like a bomb. Body head. I seen him do it with Tion Kennedy. He did it to Donaire in the final round after he hurt his eye or broke his eye or whatever he did. Roberto Marroquin exploded with left hands. That's the kind of explosive Rigondeaux that we don't see very often, but when it happens, it's very aggressive. He's ultra aggressive, I would say. I do notice that when he does get really aggressive like that, he has been hit. Even in the Tion Kennedy fight, Roberto Marroquin, Donaire not so much. He never really gave. I think he was really cautious that night. He didn't really give Donaire an opportunity to land a bomb in the middle of Rigondeaux punching. Someone like Vasyl Lomachenko, who is actually, in his fight against Gamaliel Rodriguez, right before the fight ended, he was throwing a combination, and Gamaliel Rodriguez, I think, tried to throw a left hook, but Lomachenko snuck in his own hook in between him throwing a hook and was still able to duck and get out of the way. He's a slick guy like that. And he's a very sneaky counter puncher. That's another thing I said in my last video. Rigondeaux is an excellent counter puncher. Lomachenko may not be the counter puncher Rigondeaux is, but he is a very good counter puncher himself. Not to mention, his ability to think so quickly and react so quickly. Counter punching is kind of built into his game as a whole. His game can be broken down into detail. Talking about Lomachenko, yeah, you can break down one thing he does well after the other, but when it comes to him actually applying that shit, he applies it as a whole. You know what I mean? While he's doing something else. He doesn't do things one at a time. His game is a whole, and he uses everything that he knows how to do all at the same time. He doesn't hold back. He allows himself to be as creative in the ring as he wants to be. You know what I'm saying? Rigondeaux, like I said, he's not quite as versatile as Lomachenko, but it's not necessarily something that's going to lose him the fight. You know what I mean? What he does very well, and he could very well pull those things off. Even as subtle as they are, he can find the right opportunities to do those things to Lomachenko, like land his left hand at will, because he seems to be able to get away with that with a lot of other people. I am not convinced he's going to get away with that, not nearly as much as he gets away with it with other people. But then again, I could be wrong. Who knows? We won't really know until fight night. But getting back to Lomachenko, another thing that Lomachenko, and activity's kind of vague. It could kind of be a general categorization for everything he does when it comes to activity. So that one was kind of lame. But kind of getting into the specifics of activity, his footwork. Lomachenko is very good. He's not really a straightforward fighter, I've noticed. He will come straight forward when the situation calls for it, but he works side to side, back and forth, side to side, back and forth, side to side, back and forth. It's a cycle with him, and it's not like he does it predictably either. He's not going in the same direction every time. He switches it up. His footwork, I believe is the source of his defense and offense. Like, it all starts at his feet, because, and maybe not all the time necessarily, but his feet are like the foundation of his style completely. You know, he uses his feet to get in position, he uses his feet to get in range, he uses his feet to get out of range. And then I would say another foundation of his offense would be, you know, the throwaway punches to kind of distract so he can move, you know what I mean? Whichever one comes first. I guess it really just depends on him and what he's feeling. Maybe he feels, okay, this guy is really keeping an eye on me. Let me give him some throwaway punches just to kind of keep him busy. Maybe he'll shell up, and I'll be able to go ahead and sneak over to the side, pop him with the fucking hard left hook to the solar plexus. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's how Lomachenko operates. It all kind of starts at his feet, or his feet are the foundation. Now, his footwork for this, I don't think he's going to be able to pull those kind of dramatic angles on Rigondeaux as he would other opponents, because Rigondeaux is a master defender, and he also has very good footwork. It's very intelligent footwork, especially defensively for Rigondeaux. So with Lomachenko being the kind of angled fighter that he is, you know, he's going to have to basically get out of Rigondeaux's line of sight. He's going to consistently have to attack him from either side at however big the angle is, whether he's coming slightly straight on, you know what I mean? He's got to mix it up, never approach Rigondeaux the same way twice. So his feet are going to be a very important factor when it comes to that, depending on where he's at in the ring. Now, if he's able to back Rigondeaux up, you know, maybe he won't have to use so many angles. You know, Rigondeaux obviously is going to want to lunge forward at some point. So those are kind of opportunities for him to take the angle, because if Rigondeaux, I've noticed he does lunge occasionally with his left hand. You know, sometimes I think he gets a little overconfident with his left hand. Those are going to be very good opportunities for Lomachenko to make him miss, take the angle, and let it all go for that, you know, little bit of time that he has before Rigondeaux finally, as the master defender as he is, will get out of there. However way he has to get out of there. Maybe he even might spin the whole scenario around and take the angle on Lomachenko. I'm sure Lomachenko, as smart as he is, will be able to avoid that. You know what I mean? So their skills are so conflicting, man. It really is. You know, you got the subtle versus the dramatic, and Lomachenko's drama that he brings to the ring, man, it's like, it's so well played out. You know what I mean? It's so executed perfectly. Whereas Rigondeaux is so subtle yet so explosive when it happens. You know, it's like, it's crisp. It's almost like he's got like a sniper rifle on his left arm or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, it's crisp. It's slick. It's subtle and it's explosive. And I feel like, you know, their clashes, you know, that's conflicting, especially with me determining, like, trying to figure out who the clear winner is of this fight, or who's gonna win, or, you know, trying to just work it all out in my head. But getting back to Lomachenko's footwork, as I was saying, he needs to keep Rigondeaux guessing with his footwork. He needs to, like I said, never approach Rigondeaux the same way twice, and that's where his feet is going to be the biggest factor, because depending on which way Rigondeaux is going to want to go, and I'm almost positive Rigondeaux might be the one backing up, you know, at points, or probably more often. I'm sure he can get Lomachenko to back up at some point, but if Rigondeaux is forced to back up, you know, like I said, he may lunge. Lomachenko can take advantage of that, you know, and set up some opportunities to get some punching done, and maybe get some clean punching done on Rigondeaux. But if Lomachenko wants to, for that moment in time, play the aggressor and keep Rigondeaux backing up even after he lunges, you know, or if he doesn't lunge and Rigondeaux's kind of looking for a way out, maybe he might start making Rigondeaux feel uncomfortable. Maybe he might, and Lomachenko's also really good at cutting off the ring, obviously. I mean, the dude's pretty much got every tool that you could want to have as a boxer. He knows how to cut the ring off. Mariaga was trying to do a lot of moving away from Lomachenko. Lomachenko always got him, though. Mariaga couldn't go anywhere. Now, does Mariaga have the same footwork as Rigondeaux? No. But I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference if Lomachenko's that good at cutting the ring off anyway. You know what I mean? I'm sure Lomachenko's ability to cut the ring off is just as good as anyone else's out there who is good at cutting the ring off, like maybe even Triple G. You know what I mean? Triple G is probably one of the best I've ever seen, or Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was excellent at cutting off the ring. I'm pretty sure Lomachenko's ability to cut off the ring, I don't know if it's as good as theirs or not. I'm not going to say it is, but I'm pretty sure it's as good as it can be, if that makes any sense. Basically, I'm pretty sure he could do it fucking good. You know what I mean? With Lomachenko cutting off the ring, maybe he can get Rigondeaux into that corner where he almost doesn't have anywhere to go and he's forced to fight. Maybe he can force some aggression out of Rigondeaux to fight his way out of the corner. And obviously Lomachenko would probably see that coming and would know that he's gonna attack at some point. He'll basically be making the first move, even though Rigondeaux is making the first physical move. But Lomachenko's gonna know it's coming. Maybe not. He might not know exactly when, but I'm sure once Rigondeaux makes some movement, he's gonna be onto it right away. And I'm sure he's gonna know what punch is coming, which would probably be the straight left to the body, wherever. You know what I mean? Or maybe even a lead right hook to try to, like a check hook to get him out of the corner. I'm sure Lomachenko's going to know it's either one of those punches, make the right move, counter it, trap him on the ropes if he tries to move side to side and get him into an uncomfortable position where his feet are all tangled up and he can't really do anything. Because he's done that to Jason Sosa. I've seen him do it to Jason Sosa. Get his feet all fucking tangled up. He doesn't really know where to go. Just because Lomachenko was pressing and he pretty much assumed the right punch was coming and knew exactly what to do with it from there. Now, that was kind of a bit of an obvious one, talking about Lomachenko's footwork and how it'll work against him. But kind of talk about how his activity as a whole may work. Or did I say against him? I meant to say work for him if I said against him. But talking about his activity and how it'll work against him rather than work for him. I was watching some videos of Rigondeaux training with Pedro Diaz, and it looks like they're really starting to prepare, that they're preparing the right way, because I noticed Pedro Diaz was doing a lot of stepping around Rigondeaux, and Rigondeaux was basically whipping himself, to face Pedro Diaz and hit the mitt. He was doing it really quick too, and Pedro Diaz was going back and forth, and not even in so much of a predictable pattern. So, I mean, if Rigondeaux is that prepared for something like that, Lomachenko could be at a disadvantage because, like I said, his feet are a foundation of his entire style, one of the main building blocks of his entire offense and defense. So, if Guillermo Rigondeaux is starting to acquire this ability to basically track him in whichever direction he decides to go, that could spell trouble. That could really work against Lomachenko, because he would be basically giving Rigondeaux an opportunity to apply something he's been learning and training. You know what I mean? Something that he's been working on, and I'm sure he's very good at it by now. So it'll probably be fresh in his mind during the fight, which is like 2 days away. He'll be able to apply it well, basically. It'll be right there and fresh in his mind. It's not like he's going to forget that or something, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's going to be like a huge thing or like that's something, but it's just something to look out for, because like I said, it could have Lomachenko at a pretty bad disadvantage, because if that starts to happen where Rigondeaux is starting to basically track him in whichever way he decides to fight, side to side, back and forth, it may just throw off his entire game plan completely. That might actually be something that Rigondeaux can take advantage of and basically dictate the fight in its entirety, because he basically nullified Lomachenko's use of attacking at different angles. You know what I mean? It could really spell trouble for Lomachenko. I don't know if it'd get him knocked out or something, but he'd probably be losing a lot of rounds because of it. But kind of going back to a strong suit for Lomachenko, and I feel like he is probably the sharpest mind in boxing that, in my opinion, as of right now. Rigondeaux is really close, don't get me wrong, but I think Lomachenko probably has has that over everyone else. I think he has one of the sharpest mind in boxing. His ability to react very quickly and read the situation very quickly and, respond to the situation accordingly and be able to gather information. His head's like a computer. I guess that's kind of feeding into that whole Matrix thing, I don't call him Matrix. I don't even call him Hi-Tek. I just know him as Lomachenko. I think it's pretty clever, don't get me wrong, the whole Matrix thing, and I could see where they get that from, but, I don't really use it. But back to his mind, he's, like I said, his ability to process information is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's not thinking. It's like his mind already just kind of has it all figured out, and the way he starts setting things up, the way like it's executed, it's like, wow, how could that be by random yet be executed? You can't call it just random punches being landed. I think he's very in control of what he does in the ring, and I think he's very, like everything has a purpose to what he does. The reason why I say this works in his advantage, and I think it's an advantage over Rigondeaux for sure, because I think he is the sharper mind between the two as far as being able to react. I'm not going to say it's over, like he's fucking drastically better at, or his mind is like so much sharper than Rigondeaux's. I'm just saying I think he has the sharper mind of the two, whether it's by a little bit, whether by a lot, I don't know. But with that working in his favor, anytime Rigondeaux lunges with that left hand, or anytime Rigondeaux makes some sort of mistake or is pressured to make a mistake, or even when he's not making mistakes, even when he's doing things well, but Lomachenko could still process the stuff that Rigondeaux is able to do well, that could probably translate into like defense. Maybe I need to start doing this so I can get away from that left hand from wherever it's coming from or wherever it's traveling, to the body or to the head. And I feel like, and I want to say I kind of see this coming. This is something that I almost do have like a certainty about when it comes to this fight, is that if Rigondeaux does make a mistake, that's why I said it in my last video, I don't think Rigondeaux has a very wide margin for error. I think Lomachenko has a wider margin for error than Rigondeaux does, because, Rigondeaux relies on his opponents to do certain things. Like the Drion Francisco fight is a pretty good opportunity. Obviously, Francisco didn't want to fucking fight, which pretty much meant Rigondeaux wasn't going to fight. Because Rigondeaux, I think, fights, depending on what the opponent's doing, Rigondeaux kind of, I wouldn't say reflects that, but I guess it depends on how hard Rigondeaux has to work. Like if the opponent's coming at him and he's trying to hurt Rigondeaux, doesn't have any respect for his power, obviously Rigondeaux is going to start punching. You know what I mean? He's going to become aggressive as well, but he's going to show you that he's more aggressive than you, or that his punches mean something. Your aggressiveness is maybe just out of frustration and it's not doing anything to me, but my aggressiveness is going to hurt you. Like in that first round with Nonino Donaire pressed that action, things got kind of crazy. And then what did Rigondeaux do? He got super aggressive, hit Donaire out of the clinch, and even made him stumble back into the ropes. That was in the first round. With Amagasa consistently stalking Rigondeaux and trying to hit Rigondeaux. Well, Rigondeaux, he made some moves, and he hit Amagasa a lot in between his punches when setting up those left hands. Like, perfect. I think he even landed some good right hooks and shit. He was doing some good things with the punching, with the selection of punches that he was using. So with Rigondeaux, depending on how his opponent, or how much or how active his opponent is, he kind of reflects that as well, or it translates into what he's doing, or it reflects on what he's doing or what he's gonna do. Like I said, the more aggressive, Rigondeaux usually gets a little bit more aggressive. You want to box, he's going to box you. He's going to box you at his pace, and he's going to make you fight at his pace. We'll see, with Lomachenko being as active as he is, and, as fast-paced as he is what I'm trying to say, he's going to come at Rigondeaux. He's going to be challenging Rigondeaux quite often. I'm pretty sure of it. I don't think he's going to just let Rigondeaux sit back and relax, be able to take time to think about what he's going to do or what he's going to do if Lomachenko decides to do something. I don't think he's going to try to give Rigondeaux, like, it's pressure, but it's not like physical pressure. Like, he's going to be, feigning a lot and throwing away punches and, you know what I mean, or bursts of, like, energy with the footwork and trying to get around, stuff that he does, like, whether it's a feint that's very subtle or whether it's an invitation to throw a punch where, he splits his guard, or whether it's, he's constantly trying to, like, he's like a psychic or something, and he's trying to, like, hypnotize you or something, you know what I mean? Or, like, he's starting to control what your actions are going to be depending on what his actions are. Like in the Rocky Martinez fight, when he would open up, he would drop one of his hands slightly, so Rocky Martinez would throw a jab, he would slip under and then come up with the straight left, and rocking Rocky Martinez with the straight left hand, kind of stuff like that. So with his activity and everything that he does along with his activity, going, coming at Rigondeaux and challenging Rigondeaux is going to obviously react to it. He's going to have no choice but to react to it, because if he doesn't, then Lomachenko really is going to swarm him and hit him with the barrage of punches and be waiting for Rigondeaux to retaliate with that left hand. Thus, would probably see it coming. Rigondeaux make that mistake, and then you have to pay even more for it. So Rigondeaux almost has no choice but to react in some form if Lomachenko decides to press or decides to burst, because, like I said, he's kind of like Rigondeaux. They're similar in that way. They don't fight at 100%. They only hit 100% in bursts. They only fight at 100% in bursts when they have to, when it's absolutely time to go ahead and start getting some work done. And then it's all of a sudden it's like a snap. They went from fighting at this weird slow pace to this huge fast burst of energy and are just knocking their opponents around. I think Lomachenko it could be that way in this fight, really. It really could, because if he starts to press Rigondeaux, he's going to have no choice but to react once again. Thus, Lomachenko, being the sharp mind that he is, could potentially know what's going to be coming from Rigondeaux when he presses the action, see it coming, do whatever he has to do, create more openings. But I'm not saying it's going to be that simple. Depending on how Lomachenko shows up and how confident he is and just how well he's performing overall, it really could be that simple, which is kind of why I'm leaning towards Lomachenko. But I'm not super confident on it. Trust me, I'm still pretty 50-50, but I am starting to kind of see this clear picture in my head that there's just so many things that Lomachenko is capable of doing, so many tools that he has that he uses all at once. Something's going to give, and Lomachenko is probably going to find that tactic, or he's going to find what works, and he's going to filter He's going to filter everything out. He's going to filter out the fight with Rigondeaux, and he's going to find what works. I'm almost 100% sure. Now, can he maintain it? Sure. Who knows? That's up to Rigondeaux. But if he is able to maintain it and continuously filtering out this fight and finding what works and what doesn't, it could be a really bad night for Rigondeaux. A very overwhelming night for Rigondeaux, because Lomachenko's operating at 100 and something miles an hour, and Rigondeaux will occasionally floor it, but then let off like if he sees a cop or something. Lomachenko is like a crackhead who just stole the car and is trying to make one last good ride before he hits the slammer or something. You know what I'm saying? He's going, and there's no stopping him unless he crashes, or unless he fucks up and crashes. I think that pretty much sums it up, man. I don't really know what more I can say. I'm gonna do a more of a breakdown-ish type of fight, maybe not rant so much in my next video, which will be tomorrow. And then on Saturday, might do a quick short video on my final thoughts. I might have changed my mind by then on who I think is going to win the fight. Who knows? But on Saturday, I'll try to get a short video released before the fight. If not, it's probably because I'm too busy being nervous for the fight or talking to someone about the fight, and I completely forget, and I probably won't make a video. But Sunday, you can expect, obviously, the post-fight review of the Loma versus Rigo fight. I'm fucked, man. I'm almost scared to do it because I don't even know what I'm gonna say. It's gonna be crazy to think that I'm gonna be sitting here telling you that Rigondeaux won the fight, or that I'm gonna be sitting here telling you that Lomachenko won the fight, and I'm gonna be talking about what it means for either fighter if they win the fight. It can mean a lot. It does mean a lot, because you're almost not gonna find a better challenge for either of these guys outside of this fight, short of Rigondeaux fighting some of the top guys at 122 and 126, like Gary Russell or something, you know. And then the only other person out there around Lomachenko's weight class that'll probably give him a nice challenge is obviously Mikey Garcia, Jorge Linares, and probably Robert Easter Jr. I mean, if they can make that fight happen. I don't know. I'm not saying that they're like 50-50 with Lomachenko. I favor them. I favor Loma over all of those guys, trust me. But, you know, it'd be good for him. But you're not going to find a more skilled opponent for you outside of this fight. This is the fight. When it comes to skill, this is that fight that's going to determine who has the most skill or who is the best. And in my opinion, whoever wins this fight is the fucking best, is the man. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy shit. It means a lot. It means a lot to me, and it really means a lot in boxing. But I think I'm going to call it on this one, guys. Getting pretty tired. I'm kind of wore out from work earlier, so got to hit the hay soon. But before I go, just want to let you guys know to subscribe to the channel once again. Share the video with your boxing homies. Introduce somebody to boxing. Make sure you check out Battleborn Beast Apparel's website and their Facebook. Hit them with a like. Cop a t-shirt. They're pretty dope. I love them. Stay tuned for tomorrow for what will be the official breakdown and prediction where I make my pick, which you guys already know I'm kind of leaning towards Loma. I'm pretty sure that was obvious. But I'm going to go ahead and explain further why I'm leaning in that direction. And who knows, during that video, I might just change my mind. I might convince myself that I'm changing my mind. But that's all I got for you guys on this one. I will talk to y'all on the next one. I hope everybody is as excited as I am about this fight. I really do. It's a huge fight. Peace.